So, game director Kerry Patel just sat down with IGN to talk about how Avowed isn't going to have complex romantic relationships in their game. And that's got some people in an uproar. Not me. I love Obsidian Entertainment's games, and I have played pretty much all of them. They always have rich, deep companion systems, even if they don't always have super complex romantic relationships in the same way that Baldur's Gate 3 has. Because I know that that's something that's been thrown around a lot recently, is Baldur's Gate 3 made such an impression that everyone is wanting to compare to that. And the interview is great because Carrie actually sits down and talks about how you can't, that's not a realistic expectation for every game studio because of the amount of resources that it takes to pull that off if you're going to do it. And she does talk about how if you're going to do it, you need to be able to make sure that you're going to be able to dedicate the resources to making the romantic companions feel real. And that requires a huge budget. And that's not necessarily something that every studio is going to have every single time they build a game. So with Avowed, they're focused more on keeping the rich, deep companion mechanics that we've come to expect from previous Obsidian Entertainment games, but without necessarily going in the direction that Baldur's Gate 3 went with all of their romance options. And honestly, I'm okay with that. I think that not every game needs to have all of those same things. One of the one of the issues that I have with Baldur's Gate 3 is because it's not the only game I play, but I do love it enough that I'm going through a second playthrough, and I would eventually love to do a third, fourth, and fifth playthrough. It is one of those types of games for me. But the issue is that as a content creator, I play lots of games, a lot of games. And not everything that I play is great. Not everything that I play is amazing. Baldur's Gate 3 is one of those ones that comes out. But because I play so many games and that's part of my job, I can get lost in the weeds of trying to figure out who do I want to romance this time around with Baldur's Gate 3 because those were done in such a well. I just think they were done incredibly well, and they were done so well that when I go and do these subsequent playthroughs, I'm very much going, I'm going to have to take these characters because I want to see that romantic relationship play out, which means I'm going to have to play that game for a minimum of 80 hours to be able to see that to fruition. And I don't have 80 hours all the time to just keep doing that over and over and over. So a game like Avowed or the Pillars of Eternity games, which I have played through multiple times, played the first one 3 times through, and I've played Deadfire through twice. Um, those games have incredibly rich and deep companion relationships without necessarily going the full distance with the romantable stuff. So you can have these great companion friends, morality stuff going on where people like or dislike your conversations, but you don't necessarily have romanceable characters. That's good for me because it does help streamline my second and third playthroughs because I'm not going to be stressed so much about needing to, which characters do I need to come through in romance this time. I can just focus on the story and I can get multiple playthroughs out of it in a far more streamlined fashion. And I say that jokingly because I've never played, I don't think I've ever done an Obsidian game that took less than 100 hours for me to play because they make really massive games. So I'm not really seeing the controversy here. The full interview is up over at EGN. I'm Spanish hybrid this morning. IGN. And one of the first things that she was talking about was we are building thoughtful relationships with our companion characters. And ultimately, I personally am a fan of making that an option, but I feel that if you're going to do it, that being romantic relationships, you really, really have to commit and make sure that you're giving all to fulfilling that in a way that feels both true to the character, but also creates an engaging player experience. So it's not something we're doing for Avowed, but I wouldn't say never. She also talks about that the romance system that people use, if they're going to do it well. She talks about this being a story-based game, and it's just a massive amount of work to be able to make this happen in terms of the resources to take a romantic relationship, as opposed to just the friendships that you can have with the characters, because of all the different trees that it opens up for all the different teams. Um, when you're looking at creating the narrative structure and all of your cutscenes and everything else for the game, it's a ton of work. So I totally get why they've chosen to sort of not worry about it in this game. They also talk about how Avowed's not going to have a morality meter, but that characters will have feelings about the actions you're taking. So you're not going to be told whether or not you're doing something that's good or bad per se, but your characters are going to be reacting. Those companions are going to be reacting to you and going, "Hey, You just stole that. Like I can't get behind that action. Like we're gonna have an issue here. So again, I don't have any problem with the direction that they're taking Avowed. I have faith that it's going to be a great game because I've loved everything Obsidian Entertainment does. They make good games. They have yet to make a game that I didn't like, so I have zero reason to be concerned about this at all. So I realize some people have their feathers in a ruffle because they're like, it's got to be like Baldur's Gate 3, and if it's not like Baldur's Gate 3, it's just not good enough. Get out of here. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Daily streams here and on Twitch. Don't forget to check out all the playlists because we do a lot of things. There's a Discord, and also you can pick up a copy of my latest fantasy novel if you like Dragonlance, Forgotten Realms, that kind of stuff. Links are down there. See you guys in the next one. Stay safe. Happy gaming.